Is that spine-tingling, heart-pounding sensation you get when you watch a horror movie just harmless entertainment? Or could it actually be causing you some psychological harm? Horror in the context of entertainment is typically designed to evoke fear, suspense, and discomfort. You may ask yourself why someone would be into that. Stick around and we'll get there. While some experiences with horror may be intense, they're generally considered safe. They can actually be a form of controlled temporary stress relief or excitement. That being said, it is important to be aware of a few considerations. People's responses to horror can vary significantly. What one person finds thrilling, find far too distressing. Some individuals just may be more sensitive to frightening or graphic content. This ties into the next consideration. People with certain pre-existing mental health conditions, such as severe anxiety disorders or post-traumatic stress disorder, might be a little more susceptible to the discomfort from horror content. And as a therapist, I can say that it is important when you're working on some of these issues to be aware of what impacts you and how it impacts you. And that's because horror content can be quite triggering. It can definitely bring up issues related to specific trauma and phobia. Another consideration is the content and its intensity level, because horror varies so much. The nature of the horror content does matter when you're looking at it this way. Extremely graphic content or disturbing material can potentially be psychologically harmful, especially for those who are not accustomed to it. And depending on your age, you have to consider age appropriateness. Exposure to overly intense and violent content in a young age can a negative impact in a young person's development. And like with anything, any form of entertainment, you can overindulge. You're just doing too much. Overindulgence in horror can contribute to desensitization. Desensitization means that you've been exposed to something so many times that you don't get the same response from it. You are desensitized to it. It doesn't affect you the same way. While desensitization can be harmful in some circumstances, it can also be helpful in others. Again, it's about knowing yourself and indulging in moderation for what's appropriate for you. All of those considerations being said, it is important to recognize that horror affects everyone differently. You really need to approach horror content mindfully and consider your own sensitivities and preferences. If you are finding that certain horror content affects your mental health, increases anxiety, or triggers really distressing emotions, it's advisable to limit or avoid this content. It's always advisable to check with a mental health care professional if you have any concerns related to this issue. They're going to know you better than I'm going to know you, and you're going to know you better than anybody. The harm that I can see from horror, besides some of the psychological impacts, is our perception and the stigma associated with mental health. Horror depicts mental health in some not so kind ways sometimes. Challenge those assumptions. Don't be dense. You are better than that. On the flip side, consuming horror can have a positive impact for many individuals. One of the ways that it can be positive is with stress relief. Adrenaline can provide a temporary escape from some stress for some individuals. It also provides a distraction from distressing emotions you may be experiencing. Being distracted from intrusive or distressing thoughts isn't necessarily a bad thing in small doses. Overall, horror can serve as a cathartic release of tension. That's really similar to the way that some people really enjoy intense workouts or roller coasters or just other forms of excitement. This leads us to the theory of excitation transfer. It's something that humans really dig. We do it as kids, chasing each other around, playing tag, or jumping out to startle someone for laughs. It's associated with a buildup of tension and suspense, only to have it released safely. When we know there is a release coming for some distressing emotion we're experiencing, much more soothing to us and is in contrast to the crap that life tends to throw at us unexpectedly. Another component that goes into the stress relief variable is humor. Horror is full of humor. Intentional, unintentional. Humor is great for your mental well-being. The next benefit could be a sense of control. Confronting fear in a controlled environment, such as watching a horror movie, can help individuals feel a sense of mastery over their anxiety. It can be a way to confront and overcome fears in a really safe setting. Plenty of people with anxiety and trauma history actually unknowingly already use this. Use it to decrease avoidance and desensitize them to certain things. And it can be effective, so it can be positive, but it's about balance. It could be argued that horror can build emotional resilience by exposing individuals to uncomfortable and frightening scenarios in a safe setting. This encourages them to adapt and cope. The next benefit is camaraderie. Enjoying horror with friends or in a social setting can foster a sense of community and connectedness, which is always beneficial for mental well-being. And this one, my personal favorite benefit of horror, is that it stimulates curiosity and imagination and allows people to explore some of the darker aspects of the human psyche. This can be intellectually stimulating and creativity inspiring, and it provides that dopamine so many of us are chasing. And I want to conclude by saying that horror is a vast realm. So this is all really generalized. Horror is not a clear-cut genre, which is probably why I love it so much, because I get bored real easy. Horror is never boring. I take that back. Horror can be boring, but you can always find something else that's not boring. Like always, you just have to know you. If you're starting to have excessive nightmares, heightened distress and anxiety, noticing you're just a little more nervous than usual, you might want to reflect and decide, do I need to cut back on some of this content? If not, whatever. That's cool too. Love horror. Tell the naysayers to mind their own business. Enjoy yourself. Just as horror often demonstrates, life can be short. Don't let other people dictate what you do with it.